SBI soars as it's expected to launch its 25,000 crore QIP today. Sources say that it is likely to be at a small discount to the current market price.
PVR Inox under pressure after the Karnataka government issues a draft notification capping rates at theatres and multiplexes at 200 rupees per ticket. ICICI Lombard, ICICI Prudential Life Insurance under pressure after reporting Q1 numbers. HDFC Life flattened trade.
Hello and welcome to Markets Forward, your go-to show where we aim to get you all the key data points to gear you up for the next trading day. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Rima Tendulkar. Well, it turned out to be a session where we did see just about a range-bound session. We ended absolutely flat in today's trading session, but the banks did support.
Banks were supportive, IT was not bad, but on the whole, markets ended absolutely flat. You pull up that intraday chart from the low of 1230, we managed a recovery of close to about 100 odd points plus from the day's low. But just towards the end of trade, those gains moderated, and by the end of it, the Nifty closed absolutely unchanged, above the 25,200 mark, but no gains to boot for itself. So 16 points up on the Nifty, Sensex up 63 points at 82,634. Mid caps and small caps, which had a good run over the last 2 days, also consolidated today. That said, the mid cap index is still up 1.6% so far this week. Advanced decline ratio positive. Well, on the way up, as I said, broadly, it was a lot about the auto names. Auto names did well. You had PSU banks, that was the leader. IT names higher. The Nifty IT index ending with a gain of about 0.5%. Though individual stocks like a TCS did close in the red, but you had strength in Tech Mahindra, Wipro. And on the way down, also cuts in metals, pharma, a couple of defense stocks. These were the laggards today.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Well, maybe we are still waiting and watching and seeing what could possibly take place, when it comes to the tariffs from the US for India. That's probably one of the biggest variables. But let's also tell you what we have lined up in this on the show for you. We'll start with the top movers and shakers of the day with Vivek. A slew of stocks was surging in trade. SBI gained following the bank's 25,000 crore QIP announcement. Dixon Technologies also saw an uptick after the firm announced its 51% stake acquisition of Q-Tech, while Bioon gained momentum post-approval of its diabetes drug Kirsty by the US drug regulator. Last but not least, we delve into the key market events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session. All right, well, let's get to our first segment of the day. Vivek now joins in from the wall with all of the top movers and shakers for today. Vivek.
Well, thank you so much for that. Another session where in the broader end of the market, you did see the advance go ahead and outpace the declines. Quite a lot of movers in today's trading session. And the biggest set of gainers today was actually the PSU banking index. And all of the PSU banks did very well in the session. SBI, of course, in focus, the likely announcement of the QIP. But along with that, the whole host of other PSU banks doing quite well on the back of hopes that there could be a hike as far as FDI ownership within the PSU banking space is concerned. The next stock in focus has to be one from the pharma space. Bioon, very important approval coming in there from the US FDA. And on the back of that, the stock, opened up significantly higher, cooled off a little bit towards the end of the session. Dixon, again, the street was really enthused by the fact that the company has made an EPS accretive acquisition and also the announcement of an important JV. Network 80, now this particular stock from the broad end of the markets, very strong results, good volumes throughout the trading session, the top NSE 500 gainer. And Patanjali, this particular stock continues to move higher. It's a gain for almost all of the trading sessions of this particular week, higher by 6.5%, top mid-cap gainer in the session. Amongst the laggards, HDB Financial stands out. Weak asset quality is something that the street did not like, almost 3% lower on that name. Newland Labs today, after a strong run-up, saw a bit of a sell-off today, profit booking in that particular stock. Just Dial, while the results were okay, weak collections growth is something that the street didn't like, almost 5% lower over there. And lastly, ICICI Prudential downgrades coming in as far as EPS is concerned post Q1, and that stock ended lower by almost 3% today.
Thank you very much for that. Let me welcome Shrikant Chauhan, EVP at Kotak Securities on the show, and Siddharth Khemka of Motilal Oswal Financial Services has also been with us. Shrikant, let me start with you. I mean, how does one find any sort of a direction, trend? What do you do with the Nifty? And what's the expectation over the near term?
Good afternoon, Riva. Good afternoon, Pooja and Siddharth. Well, for Nifty, it is in the range. It is finding difficulties to cross the level of 25,300, 25,350, where it has resistance of moving averages. But if we consider the entire setup of the market, then at 25,000, the market is having excellent support. And today's formation is suggesting us that we are heading towards this weekly expiry. If we consider option statistics, then based on that also, today we saw good amount of put writing at 25,200. So based on overall setup of the market, I am of the view that market is going to surpass its immediate resistance of 25,300, 350. And eventually, maybe in next 1 or 2 days of time, we may even see the levels of 25,600 again. Even if we consider Bank Nifty, there also we saw good amount of buying interest. And in fact, Bank Nifty is on the verge of breakout. So there we may see some more action in the near term. That's my view, because State Bank was like doing well today. And even if we consider other banks like HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank, they also participated in the overall move of the market. So broadly, I am of the view that we should look for taking some contra bets of going long if there is any correction in the market.
Okay, all right. Well, Shrikant, welcome to the show. What's your sense in terms of how we closed today? Absolutely flat, no real direction.
So, see, like based on the closing of the market, we may see some maybe early weakness tomorrow. But because it's a expiry day and today we saw good amount of put writing, we are of the view that if there is any lower opening, there we should look for taking contra bets. Eventually, we are going to see the levels of 25,500 or 25,600. But we need to focus more on banks this time, because PSU banks are participating and private banks are at their important resistance level. So in case if there is any further more buying interest in the market, we may see the market crossing its previous immediate highest level of 25,600.
Got that. Let's talk about the PSU banks, and right on top of State Bank of India. This is after sources indicate that the bank would launch its 25,000 crore QIP as early as today. What we've also learned is that they're likely to offer a slight discount. Vivek is joining in with the details.
Well, when you're looking at SBI, the company had indicated, or the bank had indicated, and had taken an approval from the board to go ahead and raise up to almost 25,000 crores. In fact, our colleague Ritu also had indicated at the end of last month that the company had gone ahead and appointed 5 investment bankers for this particular issue. What we understand from our sources is that most likely SBI would be launching the QIP to raise close to 25,000 crore rupees. Now, what we understand is that, number one, there's going to be a 3 to 4% discount at max for this particular QIP. Demand has been quite strong. In fact, we also understand that LIC has already gone ahead and given its interest or placed its interest to bid for more than 5,000 crore rupees out of this large QIP. We also understand that domestic mutual funds have indicated very strong interest. We also understand that this particular QIP, post which the company would be looking to go ahead and augment its capital base, and that would be one of the main reasons for the fundraise. It will be the first QIP from SBI since 2017. So the first share sale from SBI since 2017. So it's an important trigger, especially as far as this particular space is concerned. We reached out to both SBI as well as LIC for their comments. They are yet to respond to our queries.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Vivek, for that. So that's on State Bank of India. Siddharth, any views on SBI?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Ekta. Good afternoon, Rima, and good afternoon. So I think if you look at last few years, SBI has seen strong growth in an impressive 37% earnings CAGR in the last 4 years. FY25 has been phenomenal in terms of growth. They've crossed 70,000 crores in profit. And if you see, they have maintained a leadership in the digital banking, almost 88 million users. So I think it was a good time for them to look at capital raise. In FY25, again, the loan book grew at about 12%. And we are expecting about 12-13% credit growth in FY26 with a credit pipeline of 3.4 lakh crore. So overall, I think we have a positive view. Valuations are comfortable compared to some of the private players. While the overall earnings for the banking stocks are likely to a little bit subdued in Q1. I think as we progress during the year, earnings would pick up. Good part is that deposit deposits growth have started doing well for the industry, and that is a good part for bringing down the costs for the large banks, especially the likes of ICICI, SBI. We are seeing a good ROA of about 2%, ROEs of 16%, and as I said, valuations are comfortable. We have a positive view and a buy rating on SBI. We have a target price of 925.
925 on SBI. Let's talk about Dixon, that gained nearly 2% after the company said it's all set to acquire 51% stake in QTech India through a primary and secondary investment. Vinny joins in with the details.
Hi, Rima. Yes, so we are seeing a couple of news flows. One is that 51% stake that they're acquiring in QTech, which is a company that is making camera module. So they are suppliers for these camera module. Now, when you look at QTech, they're among the top 5 globally, and India, they're the largest supplier. So positive coming in there, because this further value adds to their smartphone backward integration that the company has been focusing on in the last year as well. So positive on that front. Other than that, the company has also signed a JV with Chong Qing Yuhai, which is a precision component manufacturer. In this JV, 74% is Dixon Tech and 26% is the other company. Now, what is precision component manufacturing? So they make these components which are used for laptops, mobile phones, automobiles is what they use as well, automotive applications. So a lot of segments of Dixon get covered here as well. Again, one more part that comes into their backward integration. Now, on the back of this, brokerages are giving it a thumbs up. Whether you look at CLSA, JP Morgan or Nomura, all of them have given it a thumbs up. CLSA is highlighting, that given this addition, this will help margins improve going forward by 150 to 200 basis point. Also will provide an additional revenue stream to the company. JP Morgan too is highlighting that this is a positive there in terms of revenue as well, and they expect the revenues to start coming in terms of synergies in the second half of FY26. So for FY26, they're expecting the revenue could increase by around 2% and FY27 by around 3 to 4%. And increase means additional revenue is what we could expect here, and positive move coming in on the stock on that front.
Okay, all right. That's on Dixon Technologies. Thanks very much for that, Vinny. Well, Siddharth, views on Dixon Technologies?
So definitely, I think EMS is one segment which has been consistently pretty strong numbers, and even Q1 will see that. And within the pack, Dixon is likely to report the highest revenue growth of 80%, followed by the others of the likes of Keynes, Data Pattern, and Cyan DLM. But definitely, what the strategy for Dixon has been that they are actively pursuing partnerships across segment to not only boost volumes but also to improve margins. And as we saw today's tie-up, they are backward integrating into this into the technology and climbing up the value chain. So that only leads to growth avenues, but also, as I said, profitability growth. So very positive view there on Dixon. Expect strong earnings in Q1 as well. Have a positive view and a target price of 20,000. A strong upside for even from current levels.
Okay, got that. Shrikant, a quick word on Dixon, Amber. Any in this EMS space?
We like both these stocks. We are specifically bullish on Amber. We also like Dixon, but currently it is very close to its resistance level. And in the month of April 2024, the stock was very close to 17,000 levels. So there the stock is having good amount of resistance. I am also expecting upward activity, but we are expecting gradual upward activity and it will take some more time. So eventually, again, it will come back to the levels of 18,000, 18,500, but it will take time. So if there is any correction, then there we should look for taking long bet on the particular stock. We also like Amber, and there also we are of the view that it is very close to its immediate resistance level. But eventually, I think the stock is heading for the levels of 8,500. So it will take again some time. Again, the strategy should be to buy on dips.
Okay, all right. Well, one stock which I was looking at was Bioon, which was in focus in today's trading session. That is because they've received US FDA approval for insulin aspart, which is basically this biosimilar version of Novolog, a drug, a biologic drug in the US markets. Now, the size itself is expected to be around $1 billion, and Bioon could actually benefit quite significantly from it, considering that there are not many players which are left in the insulin market, or that's becoming a space which is opening up a little bit because of the different type of diabetes drugs which are entering the landscape. So Bioon could probably, on a conservative estimate, make around $100 million. and that could go up to around $300 million if in case the entire competitive dynamics really do benefit them. But let's get Siddharth's view on this. Siddharth, any view on Biocon and how exactly could they benefit from another launch in the biologic space, and that too in the insulin space now?
Yeah, I think Biocon has been now getting a lot of approvals, not only for the plant. So the US FDA sometime back approved the Malaysian plant. We believe that that was a big trigger because a lot of product pipelines are there from that plant that are going to come up. And with US FDA approving Biocon's biosimilar Christie, I think it's a big positive for not only Biocon, because it gives us a big support to its player Novolag, where they were facing some of the product shortages, especially for the insulin drug, with the production capacities as the Novo Nordisk towards the other potential, where they're shifting the capacity to other potential drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. So I think once Biocon takes the product into formulae, I think there we can expect, as you rightly said, about $100 million of annual sales, with an upside potential of somewhere between 200, 300. That could be the potential product. Overall, we are seeing that a lot of product already approvals that have taken with the rising global demand for insulin, and especially with the biologics leadership that Biocon has shown, that is only expected to improve the overall profitability going forward. We see strong earnings growth in Biocon, and FY26 we are seeing a strong earnings growth in excess of 100%. So see huge upside potential for Biocon next few years.
Okay, let's quickly get a recap of all the insurance numbers that have come through. We had numbers from HDFC Life, ICICI Lombard and Pru. Yash joins in with the review.
Well, so of course, 2 life insurance companies and 1 general insurance company has reported its first quarter numbers so far. The 2 life insurance companies include HDFC Life as well as ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. The numbers, quite different from each other, quite divergent in that sense. ICICI Lombard numbers are very strong. To speak about specific numbers, for HDFC Life Insurance, a new business premium that missed CNBC-TV18's poll but managed to grow by about 11%. Total APE or annualized premium equivalent, that was a beat as compared to CNBC-TV18 poll, growing by 13%. Retail APE again was a beat to CNBC-TV18 poll, growing by 13%. Value of new business, again a beat to CNBC-TV18 poll, up by 13%. And margins, they were flat at 25.1%. Largely, except for the margin performance, the numbers were quite decent for HDFC Life. But the problem really came as far as the management commentary itself is concerned. Vibha Padalkar, the MD and CEO of the company, told CNBC-TV18 that she expects FY26 growth to be lower than last year, that is FY25. She expects second quarter to have sluggish growth, and this is largely because of the drop in consumption and the macroeconomic situation. She expects FY26 APE growth to be between 16 to 18% as compared to 18% in FY25. ICICI Prudential Life Insurance, the numbers were largely in line to a beat as far as poll is concerned. New business premium came in line, growing at 6%. Total APE, that was also in line, but that on a year-on-year basis saw a contraction of 5%. Value of new business saw a contraction of 3%, and margins, they were up by 50 basis points at 24.5%, and also a beat to what the street was working with. ICICI Pru Life Management in their earnings call said that they aim to achieve growth through, though they acknowledge that there will be a strong base effect that would play out. Also, they would focus on building top-line growth, which will drive sustainable value of new business. Finally, coming to the general insurance company, that is ICICI Lombard, very strong numbers from the company. Net earned premium growing by 14%. Underwriting loss, that dropping by about 15% to 293 crore rupees. Operating profit, that growing by about 30% at 654 crore rupees. Finally, combined ratio largely flat on a year-on-year basis at 102.9 versus 102.3%.
Okay, all right. Yash, thanks very much for that. Well, we need to take a short break. But up next, We'll get you the top corporate voices along with key market events to watch out for on the other side. We also want to thank our guests for joining in and taking us through all of the key questions for today, Siddharth as well as Shrikant. Thanks very much.
Welcome back. Let's get the key corporate voices then. First up, Bank of Maharashtra, the management expects NIM's impact of 19 to 20 basis points, considering the 100 basis points repo rate change. The management added that NIM contraction is expected, but they are focused on keeping it minimal. They're also targeting low-cost deposits and moving away from high-cost deposits. 40% of the bank's loan book is linked to repo.
Next up is Network 18. The management expects outlook for the next 3 quarters to improve due to upcoming festive season, as the company is hopeful of a steady revenue growth and keeping costs in check. The management is optimistic about growth since all channels and digital properties are in commanding positions, adds that July is looking slightly better in terms of business.
And before we wrap, we'll bring you some of the key market events to watch out for tomorrow. Ria standing by with that.
Well, yes, let's take a look at the key events to watch out for tomorrow. First up, a lot of economic data on the global front. In the US, we have the core retail sales as well as the initial jobless claims coming in. Watch out for the CPI data coming out of the Eurozone. In the UK, we have the employment rate as well as jobless claims. And in Japan, the trade balance data will be coming out tomorrow. Some global earnings as well to keep your eye out on. We have TSMC, Netflix, Novartis, Abbott Laboratories, PepsiCo and ABB that will be reporting their numbers tomorrow. For India as well, a lot of earnings to watch out for. For Nifty, we have Wipro, Axis Bank and Jio Financial Services, and some other names like 361 WAM, Siat Limited, HDFC, AMC, Indian Hotels, and the list goes on. We also have some board meetings lined up for tomorrow for Hudco, Inox Wind and Tata Communications. All of these will be holding board meetings to consider a fundraise. And for Patanjali Foods, this one will be considering a bonus issue tomorrow. Some other events to watch out for as well. The India-US trade deal, US-India bilateral trade agreement talks are currently being held in Washington, and the 4-day talks began on Monday and will be ending tomorrow on the 17th of July. We also have the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting happening in South Africa. And the last event to keep your eye out on, UK and Germany are also looking to sign a mutual defense pact tomorrow. So keep your eye out on all of these events.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much for that. And on that note, we're going to wrap up on the show. Thanks very much for watching. More news and updates on the other side.